Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Glowhood podcast. I'm your host, Danielle Mamet. Thank you so much for coming back to listen to another episode. I appreciate your patience with me. As inconsistent as I still am semi-consistent. So thank you for following, and thank you for, coming along with me in this journey. I don't really have a way to set like a consistent schedule every week or even every month because I do have a full-time job. So I do appreciate you tuning in whenever I do post episodes, and for bearing with me and having so much patience. So thank you. Hopefully towards the end of the year or towards the beginning of next year, I will have a more consistent schedule so that I can produce episodes for you guys every month and if possible every week. So again, thank you. I want to get into today's episode, which is going to be titled Mistakes Are Allowed. So I know that we live in a society where perfection is something that we should attain, even though perfection is literally impossible. I feel like a lot of people forget that being perfect, that's not normal. To be perfect is one, impossible to achieve, and it's not something that we as human beings should try to achieve. We can try to aim for improvement, sure, but perfection is not real. It is a standard that has been set by who knows, for whatever reason, to try and stress out, the greater society. And I think that we need to all acknowledge that that is something that is very unrealistic. And I kind of want to segue into perfection, and looking at people who we consider celebrities or even well-known figures and cancel culture. Because I think that people are expecting people who are in the spotlight to be perfect because they're more visible, but that's just not possible. Like, I just want to say it's not possible. Every single person who has ever lived on this planet has made mistakes. And every person who has yet to come to this planet, who has yet to be born, will make mistakes. We need to embrace that, and we need to acknowledge that. It's something that we need to put in our face and try and acknowledge that this is a thing. This is part of being a human being. Being a human is being present in the moment. You are a human being, present in action. This is something that is consistently happening. That's why perfection, I feel like, is just such a toxic thing to try and achieve. You can always strive for improvement. You can always strive to be better than you were the day before, but to be perfect, no. I think that it's setting people up for failure, and I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it at all. I don't like how we as a society are always expected to be perfect. We are expected to be, someone who knows right from wrong at all times. Even when we don't have all the information, we're expected to know every single thing that has ever been made or created, or every single rule that has ever been laid out. And we're expected to know all of that and to be able to make our decisions based on all of the information that is available. Granted, I'm not saying that people should do bad things or they should do good things. I think people should do what's best for them and what is also best for the greater good of society, the greater good of humanity. I won't even say society, humanity, because society is also a man-made concept. So, and excuse the background noise. I do apologize. I do live in a very noisy area, so I'll try and mitigate that as much as possible. But if you do hear some background noise, I do apologize. So anyways, back to the topic. Again, perfection is just something that's unattainable for anyone. There's so many people who are trying to achieve a level of perfection that simply does not exist. I feel like that creates, some mental anguish that is highly unnecessary, because to be perfect is to be what? No one but God is perfect. So unless you are God himself, you should not be trying to be perfect. It's really, I don't want to be offensive, but it's kind of like a God complex. Like you feel like you can achieve perfection. You feel like you have the same amount of resources and the same amount of information, the same amount of knowledge and wisdom as God to be perfect. That right there is something that, we all need to reevaluate. That should not be something that we continually try to, place those burdens or those standards on others. That's not right, and it should not continue. Again, we can hold each other accountable. We can hold each other and inform and educate each other, but to strive for a standard that simply is unattainable as a human being, I feel like that's cruel in a way, because, for example, you're comparing yourself to someone who you perceive to be perfect, like a celebrity. You think they have the perfect life because they have all this money. They're able to travel and buy whatever they want. They're able to just live life. However, how many times have we seen celebrities talking about this, the societal pressure of being perfect is sometimes too much for them, and that some of them, end up either turning to drugs and alcohol, either turning to other vices, or, eventually offing themselves. Like, there's so many instances where we're all held to a standard that does not exist. We need to learn how to embrace our flaws, but use those flaws as an advantage, because everyone has a unique set of skills. Everyone has, what one person might deem perfection, another person might deem as less than. And I think we all need to acknowledge that we ourselves are people. We're human beings living in the present moment, trying to become better human beings every day. And I want to point back to a point that maybe a lot of us have not thought of before, but if you think of this, a baby is just born, has no idea how to even operate their own body. They are solely dependent on their parents, correct? But every day as that child gets a little bit older, they're doing better than the day before. So a baby is constantly improving, constantly learning, constantly doing things to help itself to become a better person. And I feel like a lot of us lose that throughout childhood, and then by the time we get to adulthood, we have lost that drive and that perception of trying to become better as opposed to becoming perfect. And I really want us to get back to that, because if we go back to our roots, like I just said, babies try and get better every day, every single day. They're getting a little bit better. From the time they're able to kind of move their arms a little bit and coordinate themselves, to the time that they're able to walk, to the time they're able to talk. Those are all something, it takes time to achieve all of those things, but they don't give up. They don't stop. They keep going until they get it. So I think we need to also do the same thing. We all, as humanity, not even as a society, but as a global humanity, strives to become perfect, or strives to become something better than they were, in decades past. I think that's how we can improve who we are as an overall society. That's going to help everyone achieve greatness. And achieving greatness does not mean that you're perfect. People need to stop, conflating the two, because they're not the same. Being great, you can be great and be imperfect. Okay? The only person who I believe in our human history that has been recorded that was perfect was Jesus. Jesus Christ was the only perfect human. But look what happened to him still. People still killed him regardless, because those other people who were conspiring against him were not trying to improve. They were not trying to be, better people. They were thinking that he is doing something that God said he shouldn't do, even though he was literally sent by God to achieve something. I don't want to get into the religious part of things, because I know a lot of you are probably not Christian or you're not religious, which is fine. But, these are examples that are recorded in history. And even if you don't consider that being history, it was still written down. You can take it as a story if you'd like. That's fine. If you want to take this just as a story, the same way you would take like Beauty and the Beast or Cinderella, whatever, that's your choice, that's your decision. But I want you to take out the message within that story. Really think about how we as a society have framed everything to be one way when that's not how it should be. If it was supposed to be that way, people would not be unique. People would not have different features and attributes and characteristics to make them who they are. There's literally billions of people on this planet at this present moment that I'm recording this. I think we're at 8 billion right now. I'm not even sure. 7 or 8 billion people. I think when I was born, there was like 4 billion. So the Earth's population has doubled since I've been here. And in that time, that means more skills, more characteristics, more unique traits have been added into our society. And instead of shunning them or instead of making people feel bad for being a little bit different, we should embrace those things, because you never know what someone else's skill can match up with another person's skill to create something even better. And I really, 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 really want us to be able to one day unite and work together, as opposed to being so divisive and so divided that we don't even know our left from our right. That to me is preposterous. It honestly is just like, I don't understand why people are not getting it. And I understand you might not get along with everyone, which is fine. Not everyone is supposed to get along with everyone. But we're also not all supposed to conform to one thing. We are all currently conforming to certain beauty standards, certain societal standards, certain ways of life that we think is the right way when it's actually not. Think of all the people who lived in the past before us. All the people, and I'm sure it's billions, because if we want to go back to like the beginning of humanity, which was, some people say it's millions of years, some people say it's thousands of years. I'm not sure, but from whenever the beginning was until now, things have changed quite a bit. The way that society was set up back in those days was, purely survival. You had to hunt, you had to cook, you ate whenever you hunted. Now, fast forward to the 21st century, you can literally go to the store and get whatever you want at any time. Or if you're living in a more rural part of the world, you still have to hunt, but you still have some of those modern amenities that are available to you. But then again, if you think about like a certain period of time, I believe back when the ancient Egyptians were, doing their hieroglyphs and everything, some of the hieroglyphs had like spacecraft and things on the walls. So who's to know, or who's to say that we didn't regress significantly and we're basically catching up to where they were? The modern fallacy of being the modern world being more advanced than the quote unquote primitive world, I believe is incorrect, because we don't know. There's literally no evidence showing that the people who were here before us were dumber or were less intelligent or less innovative than we are. They had to be more innovative than we are, because they didn't even have a lot of the stuff that we have now. We have stuff out of accumulation. We've accumulated knowledge and we've accumulated a lot of things. But that doesn't mean that someone else didn't have to think about it, And just because someone in one part of the world has thought of it doesn't mean that someone else in another part of the world also didn't think about that same thing and create and invent that same thing. I think we all need to understand that more than one thing can be right. We live in a very binary society where it's either yes or no, right or wrong, this and that, one or the other, instead of and. It can be two things, even three things can be correct at the same time. So I want us to be a little bit more open-minded and to be a little bit more perceptive to the world around us, and to really think about how things got here. Think about how society is even set up right now. Someone had to create those rules. Someone had to make it like, okay, this has to be this way, this has to be that way, so that everything can function in a cohesive manner. But we don't know the motive or the intention behind those people who created those rules. If you live in America, and if you're an African American, you definitely know that there's two sides to society. Maybe other groups of people are not too privy to that because, they have the privilege of not being subjugated all the time. But if you're like me, you know that, you get treated differently simply because of the color of your skin, which is unfortunate because they don't know your character, they don't know your intentions, they don't know your being, but they're judging you because of what someone else told them, or what a movie or a TV show or what greater society has said that these group of people behave like, without thinking that not every single person in a group behaves the same. That same individuality that is afforded to other groups of people is not afforded to us, unfortunately, which is very irritating. But at the same time, it is what it is. Until we're able to make those strides to make sure that we are able to uplift and do things on our own, and to be able to really make sure that we maintain boundaries, because as a collective, our boundaries they've been crossed. Our boundaries have been crossed to a level where collectively we have such low self-esteem that we are grasping for straws to try and get assistance. I hope and pray that one day that we'll be able to, do things and to garner the level of human decency that we are supposed to be afforded by other humans. And I saw this also on TikTok the other day, but someone was saying that, and I don't remember his name, so if you do know, please let me know. But he was saying that we're humans fighting for human rights. How ironic is that? Humans are fighting other humans for human rights. Where is the sense in that? Who are we fighting? It would be different if it was like, yes, humans are fighting aliens, or humans are fighting, other beings that, yes, humans have rights and we need to have those rights. As soon as we're born, those rights need to be enacted. But we're fighting other human beings who came into the world the same way we came into the world, through a mother. We're fighting those other people for things that they have, but they don't want to give to us. Or not even that, it's not something to give. They're taking it away and then telling us to shut up and be quiet and sit in the corner. That's exactly what's going on. That needs to stop. So like I was saying, just to get back on topic, because I know I went on a tangent, but I want us to understand that mistakes are allowed. Mistakes are allowed. You do not have to be perfect to achieve greatness. You do not have to be perfect to achieve your goals. You don't have to be a 10 to win. I want everyone to know that you don't have to be a 10 to win. You just have to play the game. And you better hope and pray that the moves that you're making are going to get you one step closer to wherever you're trying to get to. And make sure that if you are trying to do that, be consistent. This is coming from someone who's highly inconsistent. I'm sure if you've listened to this podcast, you know that I kind of release episodes sporadically. So don't take this as me preaching to you. Take this as I'm telling you from someone who is struggling with that specifically, those same issues specifically. I'm telling you, don't be like me in that way. Take what I'm telling you and try and apply it. I'm applying it, and as we know, it's so much harder to actually do things, even when we know those things are beneficial to us. It's difficult, but it'll work out if you remain consistent. And I want us to remain consistent, try and get better every day. Just get a little bit better than you were the day before, and you will be, I think it's, if you become 1% better every day, you're 300% better by the end of the year. Think about that. That's 3 times better. That's 300 times better than you were when you started. So even if it's not something that you're consistently trying to, mentally think about, you really do need to apply it and think about how, certain actions affect and create certain consequences, and, go from there. Don't try and, be someone who's self-deprecating, because self-deprecation does not help at all. You do need to have some type of self-esteem, and if your self-esteem is really low and has been broken, just build it up slowly. And when I say build it up slowly, if you're building up your self-esteem slowly, just do something that makes you feel better and accomplished every day. So if that's making your bed as soon as you wake up every single day, that's a habit that you're building. You keep building upon those habits, and trust me, those things will become something that is almost second nature. And once it becomes second nature, oh, girl, or guy, whoever's listening to this, but you're about to move mountains at that point, because you know how to be persistent, you know how to be consistent, and you know how to make sure that you're able to achieve what you want to achieve. So I kind of want to end this here. So please let me know if you like this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being patient with me, and for rocking with me from the first time I released an episode up till now. I really do appreciate it. I have some more interviews on the way, and I hope you like those interviews. I'm still learning how to become a better interviewer, so if it looks like I'm a little spaced out or anything, I'm not spaced out. I'm just thinking about more questions because I haven't done this in the professional setting before. So I am learning and growing every day, and I am trying to practice what I preach. So I am trying to get better every single day. And I hope that you're doing the same as well too. I hope you like listening to this podcast and this episode. Please listen to this podcast on all podcast streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple, Audible, and all the major, podcast sites, and also on YouTube. I do post these episodes on YouTube. So I'm working on getting all of the past episodes up on our YouTube channel. So if you want to follow us, it's Glowhood Podcast on YouTube and Glowhood on all platforms. And then if you're following us on social media, it's at Glowhood Podcast on all sites. So thank you so much, and I hope to catch you in the next episode. Bye.